how precious they are for us, many lifetimes. That kind of understanding of compassion would bring us immense of happiness. Don't think of the future that yet to come. Don't cling on the past that has all gone. The very moment itself is very important, because we can't stay in that stage. We wander in this samsara. Compassion, if you understand compassion, this profound compassion, then that's enlightenment. That is emptiness. That is ultimately realization. Nirvana or enlightenment is not somewhere else. It is within us, and it is always been there with us. Even if you light a one single candle, praying to bring the light to all sentient beings, all motherly beings, this great small candle light is comparable to 100,000 candlelight. One good deed in this era can turn into 100,000 times. So imagine what kind of era we live in right now. And with this environment, we all learn so much, and we will. Ultimately, nothing is permanent. Ultimately, everything is impermanent. Ultimately, everything is pure and perfect. So this time of the era also will overcome. So always be happy. Be harmonious happy towards in and out. Because everything is ultimately perfect.
Coming in, such as a crisis scenario. Okay. My wife just left. My dog just took off through the field. My truck just broke down and the bank accounts just were put on hold. Now, why was that happening? I asked myself, well, that's kind of curious because this isn't so much playing with the laws of universal principles. What we're playing with here is clearing the decks. Because the funnest part when dear brothers are going through this as well, of course, the mind saying, oh my gosh, what can I hold on to? Everything that I perceive to be important has been removed. Okay, the wife is gone, the dog ran away, the car broke down, and on and on and on. The bank accounts are on hold because what they're wanting to do is to step out of the world temporarily. They're putting themselves into a void. And this is where they start to remember from their total universalist states as well, what is important. And they start to become in alignment with them now, with the light, the love, the divinity, the essence that they are. Not going through an emotional roller coaster where all of this other stuff, where it was the identity of who they were. They've stepped out of the identificational realm and watch how everything has completely turned around for them. The biggest key is that, you see, we're not buying into it. We're not becoming affected by it. We're not going to pretend that it's not happening. We're not going to pretend that maybe that old emotional state was there, or I was grabbing onto all of this and all of that, and I'm not pretending that it's comfortable. But what I am saying is, hey, you know what? Let's let it be done and move on with our day. Because when you start to get hooked into it, that's where it becomes a giant roller coaster again. And the neat part about the roller coaster is you start creating from a mind level and this is taught behavior, all of these perceptual judgments about oneself when none of this has to do with you. What does it have to do with you that your puppy dog took off? What does it have to do with you that your car vehicle broke down? What does it have to do with you that your bride had chosen to run away or leave the planet? Or that the bank accounts were frozen? It's like, all right, that's interesting. Okay, guys, I'll do the footwork, then you take it from here. Because now you're freeing yourself, clearing the decks. But the fun part too as well is that doesn't need to take place. But it's all your willingness to let go, to let things be what they are. But you're starting to remember the love of what's important for you anyways. And when this is taking it, well, was it the job? Was it the finances? Was it the car? Was it this? Was it that? Or, what about how I feel? What about what I love? What about brings me great joy and passion, blissfulness and exquisiteness, romance? That is the experience of you, that you're getting to dance and play with another dear brother. And this is where things have gone full circle, to where you're starting to remember, but not so much becoming so identified and affected and caught up in the outpicture world, in the big giant swirl, being created from an egoic state of consciousness based in polarities that if I don't have this job, I won't be lovable. If I don't have this car, I'm not important. If I don't have my puppy dog who loves me unconditionally anyways, then that's just another job to do. And who will I be if all of this stuff is gone? It was the most brilliant wake-up call they could have ever received, because it brought them right back and through the heart again, which is literally a time of celebration. But what I love even further is watch how quickly it represents, because you let go. The ego is what you're dissolving. A polarized state, right, wrong, good, bad, up, down, wealthy, not wealthy, and on, lovable, not lovable. What we're doing is going right down the neutral point. This is not about a deprivation of humanity. It's not about the ending of humanity. It's actually the beginning of humanity. And one thing I would love to break down on this one is, what does human even stand for? It's Hu, the ancient sound of the universe, the ancient sound of creator essence that has been here as a beautiful gift for humanity for eons. And man being that of the physicality, the mammalian species. So, and when you're even playing with the human attribute, being that of God-man, is from what these tones had always presented, but has been made into a smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller deity, as far as an identification, as far as a powerlessness, rather than stepping into your own divinity, or what you'll call your own power, which is also stepping into love. Because remember, your creator essence, or call it God, Allah, Buddha, Krishna, Yeshua ben Joseph, it has no matter what it's called. It's still you. And you're saying, hey, you know what, darling, let's just have as much fun as we can. Let's let that beautiful divine passion open up. And let's step out of an old script, an old paradigm that is somewhat now dull, boring, and uninteresting. You're not so much enjoying, and actually is taking the liveliness from you, then giving you life. We want to give you everything, says the whole universe. It says your manifest levels. Just please, just be open. Walk through the opportunities we're presenting for you as well. And also, playing with activations you have happening even within your DNA, even within your pineal pituitary gland as well. But most importantly, the heart realm as well, because now you're starting to remember who you are. You're starting to remember what is. Even starting to remember that you need not even be hooked into anything, nor even have an opinion about anything. You're just simply going with your own fluidity without getting hooked into, identified with, or caught up into all of these different emotional states that are also being re-embodied within one's beingness. We're becoming unidentified with. You're letting your consciousness, your mind level unravel from what no longer serves it. You're waking up to be yourself, which is also letting all of creation work for you. And I say work for you. From everything you could have ever dreamed of, imagined, that brought the passion of your being back to life as well. You're letting it start to happen for you, because not because of beliefs that I deserve it or don't deserve it. Let's chuck out the beliefs completely and let yourself have it and be it. Enjoy it, being the difference, being the light, being the love, being the essence that is in your natural state, your natural fluidity 24/7. You're letting your body metamorphosize and then be done with it. But please, 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 please do not make it a process. Leave the process alone. Let it happen for you. Your part is, hey man, I'm ready to quantum leap. Let's go. I'm speeding things up. Let's go. You're surrendering to you, not to an outside deity. You're surrendering and letting things be what they are, rather than getting hooked in and making it a big giant job to do. I do not know how to, or nor can I explain further and share further the complete simplicity of all that is. And it's already yours. You're giving permission, which is your choice, which is your free will, to let this take place. Now, it's going to take place anyways, but we're playing with the long track and the scenic ground. Let's speed it up and have a blast. Such as even talking with oneself. Keep me unfolding as quickly as I can handle for my highest best good. Thank you. Then let's go have a pizza, because we don't need to be involved. All right? You've given the go-ahead. Now let your family take over. All right? Perfect.
The global crisis more or less creates a do or die situation for a spiritually awake person, to whatever degree they are awake, in that all the conventional things are not working. And there is enough information out there for everyone to realize that the whole thing is like lemmings off a cliff. So therefore that brings people up in touch with death, which of course they've always been in touch with. But not only death of themselves, but death of loved ones, and death of all conceivable future loved ones, which goes very much against every kind of human impulse. And because of that, then, because of being encountering death, the doorway of death, and awareness of death is, of course, the doorway that opens up spiritual endeavor. Because you have to, death is the great crusher of being in denial, because it's reality hitting you in the face. And that reality is not nothingness. Nothingness is nothing to be afraid of. And people wrongly think that the reality of death is a fear of nothingness, and that's just complete further confusion and insanity, actually. The reality of death is lack of control of your environment and yourself, and that there is a continuity, which is the continuity of your spirit and soul, and that continuity is determined by your deep inner awareness and openness versus your deep inner paranoia and stinginess and closedness. And so then spirituality means opening to your relationships with the world, opening to your heart and to compassion and to connectedness. And that spirituality is not some sort of looking pious and speaking in soft tones and rolling your eyes. Spirituality is openness of heart. And when you realize that you cannot control things and you are just part of it all, then that is when you can have a spiritual beginning. So the planet for 2,500 years has been evading the great teachings of the axial age teachers, that the human potential is to be free and enlightened and kind and gentle and loving and wise. So the realignment is for people to realize their own worth and the greatness of the life that they have as human beings, and how they have evolved into that life by great effort in previous animal lives, and even divine and angelic and demonic lives, both, all of them. Everyone has been. And now they have this great opportunity as an intelligent, sensitive, self-reflexive human. Ego just is the Greek pronoun. It means I. It's a sort of a function of language. And nobody's trying to throw away their ego, who knows what it's about. However, when you wrongly think that you have an absolute ego that controls you, rather than you realize that it's a tool for organizing your behavior in life and organizing your gift to others, then you're a slave of ego, and then of your ego, and you become an egotist. And that's a bad idea. Luckily, there is no such absolute ego. Nobody has one. And therefore, you're actually just a slave to your ignorance, is what you are, when you think you have an absolute ego. So that's that enterprise of understanding the relativity of the ego and the fact that it's like a pronoun. You take responsibility for yourself being part of the infinite web of connected beings. That's what ego is. And that is a useful tool. And you can't throw that away, actually. You shouldn't try to throw that away. You can have experiences where it dissolves and you dissolve, death-type experiences, and those are good for you. But you never stay dissolved is the thing, So then when you reorganize yourself in a way which is benevolent to others and beneficial to the network, then you use ego again. And you develop a loving ego, and you develop an open ego, and you develop a Buddha ego, actually. The Buddha never did say that all beings were one, were only one. In other words, he said that beings are both one and they're also not one.